we ready?
We're live.
We're live. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Maximum Octane. And this is another live broadcast from Grapevine, Texas. We are at ATI's annual super conference.
We're in Grapevine?
We're in Grapevine. Joining me today, my friends and colleagues, Mr. Geoff Berman and Mr. Jason Patel. And then over to my right, I have the Vaninettis, which bonus points if you can spell that on the first try and say it right when you just look at the name and don't know it. So Troy and Kori have been longtime members, I think going on 11 12 years now, 13 years, and they have quite a story. So we're excited to have them. They started out pretty humble beginnings and with a dream like many other people, and holy cow, we're rocking it now and get to say they're kind of sort of my neighbors now, part-time. As a crow flies, it's about a mile, I think, or 2 miles, and there's that. So they're in Washington, the state of Washington, so that comes with its own other bag of tricks and things.
What? No income tax. I mean, that's,
no income tax.
There we go.
No state. They get you on the backside.
No state income tax, but they now have 2 shops, Graham Auto Repair and Graham, and also Graham Auto Repair in Yelm. So they're expanding, and they have 4 children. So I think they have to get to 4 shops at a minimum, so that each of the kids get one.
But a great retirement plan.
That is.
Yeah,
That's
just
right.
get a shop for each kid, and then sit at home and come to Florida,
That's good.
go boating. So anyway, there's a lot of bumps and things getting here, and as Troy and Kori have learned, the not so easy way that sometimes that climb getting to the top might be a smidge easier than staying there when you get there. So we're gonna just open it up to you. What do you want to start telling our viewers about first?
I don't want to tell them anything. It's whatever your questions are. You're supposed to lead this thing.
And you're
He's coaching you now. Okay, there we go.
He likes to do this every now and then. All right, so let's go back to when you were in high school. And you used to wear your collar up, so you wanted to go this route. So, and you used to wear your collar up.
Not
and,
the pop collar.
not the pop collar. But your dream started out with, I mean, I don't think you knew quite where you would get to today, right? You had some goals, but the journey was.
I had 0 goals.
0 goals. You shared the least likely to succeed if somebody asked in voting.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, Kori's like,
Yeah.
So how old were the 2 of you when you met?
I was 15. He was 17.
15 was 17.
Wow.
So they've been through a lot together. They're really a super couple. But you started working at Graham Auto Repair.
It was called Sorensen's back
Sorensen's
then.
back then.
Station, full service
Texaco. And that was a relative of Kori's, which you weren't married yet. Stepdad, and you were working there, and even as a younger person, you were like, I think there's some stuff that could be better around here.
Oh, yeah. A waiting room to start. Instead of engine stacked with an old car seat. Yeah, that was the waiting room.
Welcome to car repair, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to car repair.
Yep.
And then
1988. Welcome.
Well, that's innovative because now they have engine tables. So they were ahead of the game back then.
Right. They were ahead. And then when that path of you always striving for excellence, even though it wasn't yours, you started pretty much running the business as if it was yours. And then that led to
Purchasing it, yep. Well, I worked my way up through from sweeping the floor and picking up cigarette butts or get screamed at to working on cars and becoming lead tech, then manager, and then I bought it.
You started better than me. I started cleaning bathrooms.
I did that
My
too.
grandfather's
I was in charge of bathrooms too.
I would have loved picking up cigarette butts.
That was a brutal part of the job sometimes.
technicians. So that's a whole other episode of health and welfare and diet of. Then there's some scary stories in there, but we're not going to cover that today.
No. Almost lunch or something.
We won't. And then and for people that haven't watched, I think because you've been on and talked about this story a little bit, but you had a twist of fate with that business and was there for a long time. And then just you got notice of, after you'd done an amazing job of building up your clientele and an amazing reputation, all of that, the landlord said, you have X amount of time to get out now. I'm going to take this over.
No, well, my lease was up and I'd been asking for an extension because my new building would only take like 3 months. because I'd been warned 2 years before that he was going to do something. There was something up. So I went and got the name because I heard that the name was going to get taken. So I went and got the name through the state. And then the day I moved down to a temporary building, I got a notice from this person saying you could no longer use this name after I purchased the building from you. Like, imagine buying a business and saying the day you move out, you cannot use that name anymore. And I said, well, sorry, I can't because I own the name. So checkmate. Yeah, that was a surprise, but I knew it was coming. I'd been warned.
But when you're trying to build a new building and all of the things that are happening, then to have to be battling with somebody about the name that you own and all, there was so many things in your way. And I think that's the biggest thing about the both of you is perseverance, and you never lost your faith in what would happen as much as you're
that far, but
for the most part, right? So
I ended up in the hospital.
Fate was challenged, right? But it was still there. Right?
Well, we'll get to the hospital part. Stress is different than faith. So we'll get to the hospital part in a minute. So you move. So they have a really nice waiting room, nice facility, and then they had to move into a lean-to, basically, and put all the equipment in storage and all the stuff because the landlord wouldn't give them a couple more months. And so there was flying ants or something that were dive bombing people.
Filled with ants.
So people didn't want to come in, and their loyal customers are like, we love you, but to have dive bomber ants coming at us.
Well, I want to hear this.
Yes.
Called the exterminator.
Yeah, it came out, and I think that worked. But they'd be sitting there, and there'd be ants crawling across the floor. It's like big black ants.
Big flying.
The flying
Flying
ants.
Man.
Carpenter ants.
Were there also uncles?
No uncles.
Sorry, I had to slip in a dad joke. Couldn't resist.
And there were some delays with permitting and other things to get the building going. So let's jump to that for 1 second, because a lot of people think I'm just going to build a new building and it's so easy, and just you have to be prepared and have time. So what are some of the things you wish you would have known about building a building or been prepared differently for had you known?
I don't think there's anything you can do when you go to build a building, because you never know what's going to come up.
What are some of the things that came up though?
Well, its permitting took longer, but then the ground was so soft that they had to mix concrete into it with the humongous trucks just to stabilize the ground, which was another $35,000 that I didn't see coming, just to stabilize the ground, and another month delay and delay after delay. Yeah.
And when you're building a building, most people, when they go to the bank and they make up their plan, they say, we're going to move in on this date and start generating this income. So not only are you losing the income you would be generating when it's not done, there was a lot of extra costs. So if you were to give anybody advice on top of whatever bid they get to do their building, what % should they have put aside for a buffer?
Oh, to survive on? Wow. That's a good one. 6 months.
6 months of expenses, and then how much over on the bid? Because your original bid.
Oh, they're always over. At least 10%, at least 10 to 15%. They'll be over, I'm sure. You
had a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
So you're trying to keep the old business going in the lean-to, fighting for your name, fighting the county and everybody else trying to get the business, and then you got sick because you were so stressed out. So
don't forget about the ants they were fighting.
Yeah.
The ants are fighting. The ants go marching 2 by 2. Hurrah! Hurrah!
Yep. Ended up in the hospital. It was a virus, myocarditis, where it attacks the outside of your heart and then my inner ear. Yeah, that was
from stress.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. never get sick. So, yep. It was like a year. My equilibrium was off. It was really weird.
It's probably one of those flying ants gone to your ear.
It could.
Could have been some larva.
I didn't think about that. You might have figured it out.
So besides the toll, the money, the finances,
you nailed it.
finances, the toll of all of that, and the stress, like that really, when you're under that kind of amount of stress, that weakens your immune system and other things go haywire. The human body is not designed to be under that all day long, 24/7. And then you have a family with 4 children going now. You have to keep running and all of the things.
Did you have all 4 at that time?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You mean, were they all born, or did they?
Yeah, were they all?
Our oldest was 17.
I don't know how far back we're going here.
Yeah.
Our oldest was 17, down to 11.
Oh, okay.
And 2000.
So they had to deal with a teenager. So that's the biggest thing. They had to deal with like
worse
2
than that.
teenagers They had 2 teenagers at the time of this
Man.
because Nick was a teenager as well.
Yes.
Christian too.
A preteen, like a preteen or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
That's the
pretty
easiest age. It's
Three
no
teenagers.
problem.
Maybe that's why I got.
That's why you got the iron fire. No, you're fighting ants, the person that used the county, the soft ground, and 3 teenagers all at once. Like
no
that is
wonder.
too much
Yep.
for anybody to be able to bear.
Obviously.
So you got the business up and running. You moved in. It's a beautiful. Make sure you check out the website and look at it because there's actually time lapse photography and videos of the building being built, and then full tours. And it's just an amazing facility. The waiting room, it's like nicer than most people's living rooms when you go in there, and everything is just set up really nice and brand new, beautiful, clean shop. All of that good stuff. Business is flowing in. Things are going great. You have your dream staff you thought going in, and then what happened?
At what point? What year are we to?
Well, I think there's one thing that we're kind of missing. Like you guys open up this built a whole new building and all that, right? I think it's something that probably helped the viewers out a lot. There's a lot of people that's their goal, right? They want their shop, but then they want to be able to build a shop one day. What are some things that you guys did in your shop construction, for that matter, that kind of sets it apart, that makes it very user-friendly for an auto repair shop?
Well, and I think one of my dreams from owning it early was to be a dealership style, because there are independent shops. There's a lot that there's not. So I wanted a covered parking area where they pull in and we can do our walk around, because it rains a lot in Washington. So that was my biggest dream, having a service office in between the advisors. So I designed it the way I thought would be most useful.
And what was something that you would do differently, design-wise, now that you've actually been in there for a few years?
Probably a little bit bigger area for 3 advisors instead of 2. I didn't dream we would grow out of that area.
Size matters.
Yeah. So
This is PG. Dude.
so my second shop, we actually have
Can you turn on
3.
this mic?
Second shop, we have room for 3 podiums. So that's the only thing we don't have room. So I'm about to redesign or something to make it a little bit bigger.
You probably take some room out of that office.
Yeah.
A little bit off us.
Yeah.
And then you have office for your admin staff, the advisor and the service manager's offices in between the shop and the counter, so they can kind of view everything that's happening. And as I said, the waiting room is fantastic. They have an amazing coffee bar with snacks, and it's just beautiful. And then upstairs, they built an upstairs that you're going to turn into a training facility.
Yep, like 1,400 square feet upstairs.
Wow. So I think that's very important, right? The whole build out of any shop, for that matter. I mean, even one thing a lot of people are overlooking now is a whole room just for cables, right? Networking and all of that, because all of the new cars now, you have to have some sort of authorization with all these manufacturers or software. People forget that whole aspect of it, and then they're just trying to stuff it somewhere. So that's one thing were you guys able to accommodate that somehow, or have a section?
Yep,
Okay.
we have a room just for all of our security, and everything comes in there a lot.
Awesome.
Around how many cables come through there. The other part of designing it was, especially through HI, we always say how important our staff is. So I wanted these nice lunchrooms. So both buildings have really nice lunchrooms, because we take all this time to make a nice waiting room for our customers, but then we don't care about what our employees did. So what does that say? So that really doesn't show your importance. So we have really nice lunchrooms,
Awesome.
tables, TVs, nice.
Yeah,
kitchen.
TVs. They have a full kitchen in there,
both
microwave,
buildings.
everything. So
A full
everybody
kitchen too. Wow.
Yeah, they gather in there and they hang out, and it's nice when you go there and see. They don't rush. Like sometimes the break rooms are so crappy, or there is a lot of people are eating bent over a car or whatever, and they sit in there and they chat with each other, whether Kori and Troy bring in a meal, or they each bring their own, or sometimes they bring stuff for others, but they all sit in there together and spend time and eat, and it's really nice to see.
I think that's one of the biggest tidbits so far already out of this is make sure you're taking care of your internal customers, especially when you're building out a shop.
There's that. So then we have
Wait,
everybody.
Before you move on, can I add something?
It depends what you're
You,
going to add.
you blew over something that I thought was really powerful when you talked about building an area that was covered so that you could do a walk around.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people listening are going, walk around? Right? I mean, that's huge. Huge. And you said dealer style, and I'm glad you said style because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of things we could do differently than what the dealer did, even
absolutely.
better.
Cool.
But
We're way better than the dealer. I'll tell you, customer service.
that's a really important thing because I don't think anybody really thinks about that when they either design or just go into their business and how they greet a customer, what the sales process is, all the workflow, all that stuff, and the work in a walk around is huge. So I think that's a big one as well.
Yeah, both buildings have covered areas. They're a little different style. One's a pull in and one's a drive through, but that was a must for both buildings.
And now that you touched about the dealer style part, Geoff, there is no denying that when you walk into a dealership and their service area, it is hands down nicer than most independent automotive repairs.
No question.
So you can bring the best of both worlds to your customers by having those beautiful amenities and then offering the amazing service that the dealers don't. So at no point, I want to make sure that anybody think that Troy and Kori wanted to run it like a dealer and treat their people like dealers or that, but they wanted that feel of, when you walk in that people are comfortable. I mean, they just love it when they come in. I mean, you can see when you're there, when somebody comes in for the first time, their face just lights up because they've never seen a shop like that looks like that. But
here's the difference. When you walk into a dealership, and I don't want to label anything, I'm just talking my own experience here. But when I've walked into a dealership before and it looks beautiful, like you said, it feels wonderful. No one looks at you. No one greets you. Yeah. No one says hello, right? You got to beg for someone.
That's just you when the rest of us walk.
Well, that could be. That's why I said be careful, right? But I'm sure. So when you say dealer style,
just the aesthetics.
They took the best of what's going on and made it better, because I know that's not happening in your store, right? No. We are getting greeted. We are looking at people in the eye. We do care about them, and a lot of that has to do with what you said about how you feel about your own employees.
Yep.
Because it's really true. If you treat the employees well, they'll treat the customers better.
And that's definitely the piece of that too that I want to make sure everybody is aware of, is that the internal customers, they love working in that building. They love showing up every day. They love walking into a beautiful place to work.
Who wouldn't? I'm wondering if he's
hiring. They love having the clean floors. Troy is very about everything has a place and being organized, and everybody knows him and Kori don't bat an eye if there's a new piece of equipment needed, new software. They are like, if you need that to do the job, if you need that to make your life better, to give a better customer experience, let's buy it. And
are you hiring for real?
There's so much pride in the building and looking after it and just what it looks like, because who wouldn't want to walk into a beautiful place to work and not something that's spilled oil all over the place and looks dirty and disgusting. So when you're looking to attract people as well, even new people, if you're offering the same pay and the same whatever, and one place is a dump and the other is the garage Mahal, where are they going to go?
Definitely the dump.
Yeah.
Definitely the dump.
Yeah.
So we had everything running there. It was all going great. You had a manager, you had everything in place, kind of. Thought we sort of got to where we needed to be for now. And then there were some staffing issues and maybe people weren't quite what we thought or weren't willing to hold up your standards.
How many years? We're going 3 years back?
3 years back.
Well, I think COVID pretty much, it changed people in my business. My manager changed my manager, put him into like depression or something. I don't know. So yeah, I had to let him go for sure. He was my manager for 10 years.
And that was really hard. And I want everybody
He's still a good friend of mine, so.
To understand how much time and money that was invested, because it wasn't a decision that was made lightly. But at some point you have to let go if you need to. And that's a hard thing. And especially when you look at the time investment, when you have personal feelings and empathy for somebody, and then have a lot of dollars in training because you just don't want to give up. But at some point you have to cut the ties. And it was a huge relief, right, for a lot of people at the shop.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. And it's the best thing for them. Like I say, it's like your kids. You're going to continue to let them. Either I'm training them to be a better employee somewhere else, or not making them a better person. That's what we try to do. So, and he's doing awesome now. And I just talked to him the other week. So he's working at a dealership as a manager of the Quick Lube or whatever it is. So it's awesome to see. He's happy again. He got through it, so good thing I did.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, right? Where the change of environment, we always overlook that. And when you change someone's environment, whether it's people that are already working for you, right? If you just reorganize the office or you do some kind of improvement, it changes the environment all the way. And as soon as you change the environment, it changes perspective for everybody. So maybe that's all he needed was change of environment and change of, the way his life was going.
Yep.
And he found that somewhere
So
else.
maybe you should have just remodeled.
Yeah.
And then he would have stayed.
Yeah, that's a possibility, right?
No, he needed a change.
Yeah.
He needed a wake-up call. Just wait.
No, he needed something more than that for sure.
And there's levels to it, right? So I mean, there's
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
It was such an agonizing decision for them, though, because
can
they really
imagine.
care. When you have somebody that's part of your family for a long time, and Troy and Kori are very hands-on and very about helping people and helping the community, and so it's like to not continue to try helping one of their own was they were, oh my God, we can't do this, but it turned out to be the best thing. And
Over all the years of coaching, this is not an unfamiliar story.
no, not at all.
There's many business owners that face this. And when you have an emotional connection like that, it's tough. Yeah, add maybe family member that sometimes is in there too. I mean, that's
Well, you've even had to fire one of your family members, right?
Yes. Yeah. My daughter. Yeah.
oh, that's me. Because nobody listening has family in their business, I'm sure.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. You decide there's another community near us that's really up and coming, and I don't have enough on my plate now, so I think I want to throw my hat in the ring over there and take on the town of Yelm. So let's chat about that a little bit.
Oh, the second shop?
Yes.
Yeah, you just don't know what you don't know, right? Until you start a second shop. They could talk all you want, but there's a lot to learn. I mean, I don't regret it one bit. I'd do it over and over again for sure, because it doubles your talent pool. You can fill in from one shop to another when there's somebody's missing. So there's the benefits outweigh any of the hardship doing it.
And then you said, boy, this was such a headache building a building from scratch. I'm going to buy one and renovate it. So what are your
It wasn't a renovate. It was a tear down half of it and build a new part.
But in the beginning, I think you saw it like a renovate. You got to zhuzh this a little bit. The bones are all there.
Here we go.
No, now I don't want to do a major construction. I'll reword it now. Not a major construction. Because, it's still 2 years. It's 2 years, both projects.
2 years for the second location?
Mm-hmm, pretty much.
Oh,
From the
man.
time you bought the dirt to all the planning and engineering and then the building, and then, have to go through and find your contractor. That was 3 months. It's 2 years.
Now, was this after COVID?
Yep. It was almost 2 years ago.
And do you feel like that made a pretty big difference in terms of why it took so long?
No.
Okay.
No, the city was super easy. It was a good old boys club. My contractor went to high school with the whole board, and they said, well, it looks good to me. I'm like, okay, well, this is weird.
Wow,
Twilight Zone.
That's
My
unusual.
last experience was not like that. It was
Right.
14 pages of notes. This was like, it looks good.
So what do we do differently at this second location in terms of construction-wise, like build out?
Well, we left half the building, tore down half the building, and then built all brand new waiting area and lunchroom and all
But
that.
the first building is second one. I think you said you made a bigger service advisor area. What else did you different that you
was
learned
it.
from
That's
that?
all I had to room because I had a smaller footprint, so I
Okay.
could only do so much. If I would have had a bigger footprint and they would let me, I would have probably definitely put that extra office in. We only have one small office, but our podium area is a little bit longer and bigger.
So to be clear, you owned it essentially for 2 years without creating any revenue. Is that correct? Or were you doing
Yeah,
some
that's
work in
correct.
there? No revenue at all.
Oh,
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard that correct.
Well, on top of no revenue, also the Troy and Kori were smart enough to staff up over at the original location so that they could be trained on their core values and how they do things. So they, in addition to zero revenue,
and you're
paying
more
for all
people.
this stuff, they were paying for more people because they were smart enough to know over years of experience that you can't just hire somebody tomorrow.
So there was a lot learned from the first experience.
And so they staffed up so that they had staff ready to go when boots hit the ground over. Unfortunately, it took longer to get over there.
But I think this brings up a good point, though, right? Where we have at ATI, we have the shop capacity drill, right? You get to really see what that one location is able to do. So how much to capacity were we when we had the extra staff being trained?
Oh, we're not to capacity yet.
Okay, so we had the space in the first location.
Yeah. Well, I hired people that I knew I had no space for, but I knew I was building the new building, but they were talented, so I hired them anyways. I said, I don't care if you do a broom, I'm going to pay you because I need you for the future building.
And that's an important thing, because a lot of people don't want to make the investment to put somebody on, but when somebody good comes along, you have to make room for them. You can't let them just go and say, oh, I'll call you in a month. If there's somebody that outstanding, you got to snag them at the time and figure it out.
That's my new motto. I'm going to hire you if you're talented.
Yep.
I'll figure out where you're going to go.
So I think maybe you misunderstood Jason's question about how packed were you at Graham, that you decided you guys were booked out for I don't know how many weeks, and when you were doing the other location and put the other people on, they weren't running at like only 50% or whatever. Their bays are all full all day long, their techs are all going, so
Production was strong, all that.
Yeah, you were easily, I would say, at 75% capacity, if not more, before you switched over. That was part of the problem with the customers, is they were so far out. And there just wasn't any more physical space to bring people into.
Understood.
Other issues on there.
Yeah.
Getting the cars out of the building was the issue.
Yeah.
And management at that time, because I was dealing with my manager, I was going to let go. So yeah, there was
A lot of
issues there
stuff.
while I'm building the new building.
It was a perfect storm of things that just were going, but
And go ahead.
Good. No, I was just going to say, I want to point out that, this sounds like all wonderful.
Did I
Corey's like, what?
Well, no. If I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, wow, what a great stuff. And this is great. And I love what you did and all that stuff. But the real truth is, most of the time when a business goes from, when you look at the franchise model, goes from 1 to 2, it almost always fails. And the reason it almost always fails is because most of the time it's more of a gut check moment. Oh my God, there's this place for sale, and if I let it go, I won't be able to get it. And meantime, I'm at 25%.
Yeah. There we go.
And I'm not running my business well. And as a result, I feel like I can't let this go. And now I'm not doing well here. And now my time is being spread amongst 2. Now the whole thing falls apart. And so in listening to your story, it was clear you were in a good place to make that move. And I just wanted to make that real clear to everybody, that it's not just, oh my God, there's this great opportunity. You got to be ready for it. Otherwise it will fail.
Yeah, you have to have the income to be able to afford it.
And yes, there's surprises, and we're hearing all these surprises, but you were ready for that. Right? You were prepared to make whatever gyrations and do whatever course corrections you needed to stay on path. And you had an infrastructure and a staff in the building you were in and the one you were going to that was ready to go. It wasn't going to be, oh God, Troy is going to be stuck doing everything. That was not part of the plan.
Never.
So
well, we see that a lot when somebody opens another shop. They wait until like a week or 2 before the grand opening, and they're like hiring technicians, hiring service advisors. Like, you're opening in 2 weeks. What do you mean you're putting out a one ad today? You can't do that in any business. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that brought up a good point, though, like with the whole bench, right? So we always talk about you have to build a bench. But building a bench, people don't understand that the bench is going to keep moving, right? So you have to be, like you said, you hired the person that you felt was the right fit. So you went ahead and hired them, made space one way or another.
Yep.
But even if you are building a bench, you have to make sure there's a way that you're talking to the people that are on your bench. Make sure you're still engaging them, giving them the opportunities, whether it's bring them on for some training, whether it's technical training. Yeah, it might cost you a little bit of time, but they're still part of your bench, and that makes that stickiness.
Yeah, and even though you plan for the staff, I think only 2 of the original people are still at the second store. So those ones didn't work out that I had thought would work out when I moved them over there. So
Interesting thing too, when before the new shop opened up, Troy and Kori were completely overstaffed. They had, I forgot how many extra people, but within a couple of weeks times, like somebody broke their back, another one's wife had to move to wherever, like they lost. It's like, I've never met anybody that was so overstaffed and was prepared in a bench, and then half their staff just got wiped out in like a couple of weeks with crazy stuff that you can't plan for.
Man.
So
I blocked all that out. I barely remember that, but yeah. I think
I
I had 2 back
remember it.
injuries,
Yeah.
so,
And so, no, that's the important thing. You can't plan for everything. Like, who plans, like, I have this bench, but 2 of my people could, break their back or do whatever, or their wife might want to move to Kentucky or whatever it is that happened. But the more that you are prepared for, then when those hits come, you're in a better position to withstand the storm, right? It's like hurricane shutters, right? With during a hurricane, you got to have.
It's the old saying, luck favors those that are prepared. Right?
Is that a shirt, or did you read it on a fortune cookie? Was that a fortune?
It might have been a fortune cookie. No, you never heard that.
I have never heard that.
Is it true?
I know that I've always heard that God takes care of drunks and little children, but I don't know about the.
I've heard that one.
Wait, I've never heard that either. Where are y'all coming up with this stuff?
See the generation gap.
That would be an interesting fortune cookie.
Yes, that would. But you have to weather the storm. You have to have that solid foundation, and you cannot plan for everything. It's impossible to do that. So you mentioned about when you got the new building, the first one's going. You have all your essentials that your people live by. You have a firm policy that everybody better treat each other the same way you treat your customers. That there isn't any difference between internal, external customers. You have the beautiful facility. You give the customers the pickles. They get the gifts that come for everything. You're all over the community. You're donating stuff wherever. You're like,
you're giving them pickles?
Kori can talk about the pickles in a minute. But and then you go in a new building and you said, I didn't know what I didn't know. So what are some of those things? You had it kind of all together. And then from the outside looking in, anybody would think this is a perfect business. This man and women is brilliant. Then you get to the second store.
No, I never said that.
And then what happened? What did you not know?
You talking about recently or what?
When you opened the second store and things started going, you said you thought you kind of had it all dialed in and you didn't know what you didn't know.
Oh, about starting a second one, just the some of the benefits, and just 2 stores. Yeah, I was 6 months at the new store just training, and then while that was happening, the old store, the original store, just got neglected because I was always at the new store. So of course everything started falling and failing at that store, which now I've just had to pay for that just now. But yeah. So it's learning how to operate 2 as one. That's what that's my mission this year.
So processes.
Yeah, as one, you grow, because my one store is growing great, and the other store is going down. So how do you make both stores grow together, elevate at the same time? So that's what we're doing. We're going to all meet together. We're all going to train together. That's some of the things I learned.
I really like that thought about to make them grow and perform as one.
Which, I mean, if you really think about it, right, like all these franchise models that work, like Firestone and all of these, right, that they're able to branch out and put one wherever. Even Discount Tire is a really good example of that. Discount Tire, I mean, they'll put one up anywhere, and they all work because they're all the exact same.
Yeah.
Each employee exactly the same. Each manager exactly the same. The personality is kind of gone on some of those, but that's how they're able to make it work. And if we're able to bring that into the independent scene, I think that's the game changer right there.
And still keep the empathy and the personalities and all of the things.
So like the dealer style. So this would be like the Discount Tire style.
Yeah.
We had a lot of styles. So pickles. Want to talk about the pickles a little?
They're just gifts. We put in each car gets one, and I can go along with the seasons, like St. Patty's Day. I'll do some mints.
You'll do green pickles?
Yeah. It'll be like St. Patty's Day, Easter.
Spring.
I've done popcorn ones, so I'll do popcorn and licorice and a candy, and
So every vehicle, after it gets inspected and gone through quality control, they call it a pickle. And you want to explain why you call it a pickle?
I don't know. You probably came from
It
you.
came from
The story came from you.
I have to ask, is this about the Farrell thing? Give him the pickle?
Yes.
I thought so.
Okay, so why don't you share?
Well, I mean,
You remember the name. I don't know where that Farrell.
Well, first of all, Farrell's restaurants were amazing.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's really a shame that they're gone. I don't know that they were all over, but I know they were here on the East Coast, and we had them here when I was a kid. Anyway, so it was an ice cream parlor that turned into a restaurant. It was kind of set up kind of the same way a Cracker Barrel might be, where in the front they have all these candies and all this stuff, and in the back is the restaurant, the ice cream parlor. And he built his business based on service. And the story is one day somebody comes in and they started charging for pickles. This is the story, right?
Yeah.
And so the guy writes this letter, I can't believe I had to pay 75 cents for an extra pickle and all this stuff. And so he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Here's a coupon. Please come back. You can still have pickles and all this. So this became like this company mantra, give them the pickle, right? Because it was all about the pickle they wouldn't give away.
Oh.
So, and when I heard that, I'm like, okay, this is Farrell. That's why I asked. Yeah.
So about customer experience and the wow factor, right, and giving them that. So it's just they love getting the gifts in the car. And there's we have so many stories over the years about the gifts that are just so awesome. Like, and you don't know where people are at in their life, and that's another thing. We talked about a little bit earlier. In the other episode about treating people like they're special. Today's world is just so hustle and bustle, and people don't feel special anymore. They're not treated like they're special. And so just that little gift, it takes time. And people have gotten out of the car and walked in and hugged people or started crying and said, my husband just died. I never thought I'd get a pickle again, or different things. One of our members had Valentine's Day. They give out I think a rose and a little box of candy. And a guy came running back in and he said, today is Valentine's Day. Don't tell my wife you put this in the car. He said, I'm going to give it to her and say it's for me. And they said, hey, whatever. So in one case, we maybe saved a marriage because they remembered that it was Valentine's Day and had a gift for their
wife.
wife.
Saved it till the next day.
The next day.
I do that every year with my employees. I hand them a big box of chocolates, just in case you forgot to save your marriage or relationship.
Great.
Here you go.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That's awesome.
That's an awesome thing. Okay, so for all you business owners out there, if you really want to make an impact, get some
Save marriages.
candy.
And so what's interesting about all of this is none of it's hard. None of it's expensive, right? It's just showing that you care. It's taking that little bit extra. And when you do something extra that you don't have to do, that's what makes the difference. So whether it's a pickle or a box of chocolates or a flower or whatever, it's not just come to work every day, fix cars, and go home.
And when you look at the internal customer aspect again, they get to be part of that. So they're the ones that get to put the gift in the car. They're usually the people that see when somebody gets in the car and their smile when they open the door and they see the gift in there, right? So that gives them pride working there, that they're doing something good, for even though something simple. And they're usually the ones that when somebody opens the door crying and says, oh my God, this was my mother's favorite flower or whatever it is, there are a lot of it on the receiving end. If not, it's the service advisor. So it's all part of that full circle of just treating everybody like that. And it makes it great, and it gives them a reason. And again, if you're going to go work at a shop and you have two offers and they're similar and one doesn't care about the community or doesn't do anything
work
extra.
Where there's pickles.
You want to work where there's pickles.
Yeah.
As long as they're not those sweet pickles. I just don't even know why those are invented, those bread and butter pickles. I don't know.
They taste good.
Don't judge the pickle.
Oh, I am. Those sweet pickles are just...
It's rare when I've had a pickle I don't like. Some I like more than others, but there's none that I don't like.
I don't like those.
The sweet ones are not the top.
No, they're not. I don't love them. I don't love them. All right. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. So what final advice do you have to bestow upon our viewers?
Give them the pickle.
Boy, that's a good one. I just keep focusing on the internal, external equally, right? Just as important. If they don't feel it, then you're doing something wrong.
And stay away from the ants.
Yep. Especially New Year.
Avoid the ants.
Avoid the ants. Kori, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that was good.
Next time we have you on, I want to talk about bringing your son into the business and because that's been an exciting thing. And like any parent, you love when your child finds their passion and a niche for something that really showcases their talents. And so
Kim got to be a big part of that. So
Yeah.
So we fired our daughter.
To hire the son.
there was years.
They were doing totally different.
Their daughter was doing like part-time marketing something, and she was a teenager and really wasn't interested. And so their son has really embraced this, and he's always had a fantastic personality and is very charming and just humor and very likable when you meet him. And so there definitely was a spot, but you have to wait till they're ready. And I think that's another thing, and why I really want to cover this. Sometimes people bring people into the business, and especially children, and they're really not ready, and so they ruin the opportunity, because if they would have waited till it was the right time, then they could
agree 100%.
Have a much better thing. So there's
let
that.
them go experience things first, and then let them screw up somebody else's.
Exactly right.
Okay, so you've learned it, because if I say, hey son, this is the way it is, no. But if he experiences it, now I've got a better shot at success. Absolutely 100% agree.
Jason, final comments for our viewers.
Time is money. So a lot of people now in today's society, nobody wants to spend the time. You guys are doing that by giving them the pickle, right? So internal customers are seeing it, external customers are seeing it. I think time is more valuable than money at the end of the day. So showing that you're spending that time, I think that goes a long way.
Awesome. Geoff?
Hard work pays off.
Was that on a fortune cookie?
Let's see, what other fortune cookies can I come up with? No, I mean, really, just stay true to what you believe. And it's funny. I think that a lot of people don't realize this, but we all face challenges in our lives, and you faced some really big ones from what I just heard. And never once did you, well, I shouldn't say that, you probably worried sometimes, but you weren't worrying so much that you were going to turn away from it. And while it seemed hard or maybe even impossible as you achieved it or went to achieve it, when you achieved it, I'm willing to bet you probably look back and went, that really wasn't that bad. And I think that's a big thing. Most people just freeze rather than push through it, because it just seems like it's going to be way worse than it actually is. And looking back, you never achieve something, look back, oh my God, that was impossible. It was hard, but it wasn't that bad, right? It's always worse in your mind than what it actually ends up being. So I think that's the big takeaway. Is that on a fortune cookie?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
that was very good, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, okay.
Wow. I got a Jeffrey. Usually that's a bad thing. If it was a Jeffrey Yale, it was a really bad thing.
Is that your middle name? Is
Oh, crap.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, wait, I'm making a note right now, because I don't think the other coaches know, or the
I am so
in trouble.
going to regret that.
Well, you know what? I can edit that part out, and you can give me something on the side to make sure I don't tell the coaches.
Oh, there we go.
It's my name.
Well, I got to get something too then.
As a child, if I could live through Jeffrey the Giraffe, Yale is
Jeffrey the Giraffe. Add that one too. There we go. We got another one.
I'm getting all kinds of stuff.
Here's what I will say with everything, and I don't know if we were able to convey that, and I probably didn't. I did a little bit of a disservice to two of you, because I know you and I know your stuff, so a lot of little things that probably I should have brought up, but I kind of just get excited and go on. But throughout everything, the one thing I have to say is that Troy and Kori never lowered their standards, never said we're going to have less quality or we're going to tolerate this kind of behavior, regardless of how short-staffed they were or what kind of building they were in, or at no time did they ever compromise their morals, their ethics, or anything. And even though they were hemorrhaging money and both times building things and doing whatever, they stayed true to who they were and the service that they want to provide, and to provide and give back to the community and take care of their family. And so I think that's a huge lesson, because so many times people start making shortcuts and, okay, I'll take this person that I shouldn't really hire because we're desperate to get somebody, or, okay, maybe we'll do less pickles because whatever it is, but they never wavered from that. So no matter what life threw at them, they stayed true to their compass. And I think if you do that, you can't ever go wrong.
That was really great, Kimberly.
Thank you. Actually, it's not Kimberly. Yeah, my legal name is Kim, which is a whole other story. The banks do not like that. They don't want to hear it. They're like, no, we need your whole name. And I'm like, that is my whole name. They're like, we need your whole name. And I say, that is my whole name. It's a great conversation to have as an adult with a banker.
Oh, well, it felt good when I said it. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll take Kimberly.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, and thank the two of you for joining me.
This was fun.
It's always a smile. We love it.
And we are going to have you back to talk about bringing someone into the fold of the family, and setting expectations and, you know, all of those things. It's a lot. And we all want to see our kids. You know, that's the dream, right? To see your kids kind of take over what you're doing. So we have that now. Now you're just going to get the other 3 involved in 2 more locations, and we'll have one heck of a show.
There we go.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your
It was fun.
grapevine experience to be here today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks all. This was great. Loved it.